There are new rumors about Larry and Theresa Caputo. Theresa Caputo, a psychic from Long Island, recently advised her ex-husband Larry Caputo to improve himself. This statement has caused a great deal of controversy among her fans and followers. Theresa may be hinting to a new life with Larry, according to many. Another group, however, asserts that they are covertly getting ready for marriage. Nevertheless, the entire situation is still mysterious because Theresa hasn't formally acknowledged anything about it as of yet. On a calm Sunday morning in Hicksville, Long Island, the rumors began. Long Island medium fans awoke to reports implying that Theresa Caputo, the woman known for her large hair and deeper connection to the spirit world, had given her ex-husband Larry Caputo some very private advice. Theresa abruptly shifted the topic to Larry during a recent public engagement when she was talking about self-improvement, healing, and becoming better versions of ourselves. "Sometimes the past gives us lessons, not regrets," she remarked, addressing him directly. "Larry, I hope you learn from that and get better." It appeared to the audience to be a raw, passionate, and intensely intimate moment of power. According to others, Theresa's voice cracked as she spoke, and Larry, who was seated in the back row, nodded and smiled slightly. Just that 1 minute was enough to start a flurry of conjecture. Fan pages and gossip blogs took off in a matter of hours. Theresa's statements, according to one group of admirers, were an olive branch rather than just counsel. They thought she wanted to get back together with Larry, who had been her partner for almost 30 years. With descriptions like, "Some loves never die," or "You can see it in her eyes, she wants him back," these admirers unearthed previous pictures of the pair, their trips and family get-togethers, and shared them online. But there was a more audacious theory from another camp. They claimed that in addition to getting back in contact, Theresa and Larry were also covertly getting ready for another wedding. Their proof? Recently, Theresa was seen without her typical ring collection, as if she were getting ready for something new. Larry had also been spotted at her favorite Long Island restaurant, which they used to go to together. The murmurs increased in volume. Was there a reconciliation taking place here, or were supporters just getting what they wanted? Even Theresa kept her mouth shut. As usual, she kept sharing updates about her followers, book tours, and readings. She would smile sweetly and go on whenever someone inquired directly about Larry. However, others who knew her said that something had changed. According to an unnamed family member who spoke to media, they've been talking more lately. Theresa has consistently stated that she and Larry have a strong bond, and occasionally, such bonds never truly fade. Their daughter Victoria fueled the flames when she wrote, "Life has a funny way of coming full circle," in a mysterious Instagram story. Fans instantly interpreted this as a sign that wedding bells might be in the air once more. The most sensational allegation was spread by a Huntington diner waitress who claimed to have witnessed Theresa and Larry eating supper together, alone. They were not engaged in combat. They weren't far away. Rather, they held hands across the table, laughed, and appeared to be the pair they used to be, according to the waitress. "To be honest," she remarked, "it was like witnessing two people fall in love again." Was it accurate? Or is it just another tale that fuels the craze? Nobody knew for sure. For her part, Theresa didn't confirm or deny any of it. When asked about the rumors in a rare interview, she merely responded, "Life is difficult. Relationships are difficult. I'll just state that everyone is entitled to happiness, regardless of how that happiness manifests itself." Fans were divided by her remarks. Did she mean to make amends? Or was she just telling people that life isn't always clear-cut? The enigma remains for now. Larry and Theresa might be pursuing a friendship, or they might be edging closer to something more profound. The truth is only known to them. Nevertheless, it might be appropriate that Theresa Caputo's romantic life is as enigmatic, something unseen, something whispered, something waiting to be revealed at the appropriate time, in a world where the line separating the living from the spirit is already thin. But for the most of her life, Theresa Caputo, known to millions as the Long Island medium, had been facilitating communication between people and their loved ones on the other side. Families who had previously believed their farewells were final had found solace, healing, and hope in her gift. But when disaster struck her own household, nothing in her incredible journey could have prepared her for the suffering she would experience. Theresa received the call that would split her life into before and after, forever on a crisp September evening. Her son, Matthew, the love of her life, had been involved in a horrific accident. The consequence was brutally obvious. Her boy was gone, even though the specifics were lost in the confusion: sirens, hospital hallways, the sterile antiseptic odor. Theresa felt as if she were living outside her body for days. Even though her family and friends were there to console her, her gift, the same gift that had helped her get through years of other people's sorrow, felt like a curse. She sensed Matthew's presence hovering, as though he were waiting to deliver a message from the adjacent room. However, Theresa found it difficult to unlock that door. Not quite yet. She wasn't prepared to act as the go-between. All she desired was to be his mother. After several weeks, the house that had once been alive with Matthew's laughter was suddenly quiet. The baseball glove that was still at his desk, the old jacket he wore every winter, and the half-filled notepad with the lyrics to songs he never finished were among the small items he left behind as Theresa strolled around his bedroom. Theresa couldn't stand the incomplete words, and every item felt like a conversation break. However, something changed one night. A flood of warmth swept over her as she sat in her living room with a candle blazing and her heart hurting. Not with anguish, but with recognition, her chest constricted. "Is that you, Maddie?" she murmured. And she sensed him at that precise instant. Not in a loud voice or a dramatic vision, but in a calm, steady knowledge. There was her son. The floods began to flow. Theresa started having dreams about Matthew night after night, dreams too real to be a figment of her imagination. In one, he was seated at the kitchen table across from her, his eyes full of love and his smile broad. "Ma, don't cry for me," he said. She would wake up crying, but she would also feel at peace, something she hadn't experienced in months. "I'm right here, and I always will be." Theresa eventually came to the realization that she needed to share this experience with others who were grieving similarly, in addition to helping herself heal. She made the decision to host a special event, a night devoted to parents who had lost their children, rather than a normal reading. "In memory of our angels," as she put it. Candles flickered as hundreds of people gathered in a silent Long Island auditorium on the night of the event to remember the children they had lost. Not as a star spokesperson, but as a distraught mother, Theresa stood on stage with a shaky voice. She talked about Matthew, her sadness, and how grief evolves but never goes away. She then gently expressed what she had experienced, which is that death is a metamorphosis rather than an end. Messages started to flow through her as she moved through the crowd. She informed a mother in the front row that her son requested that she continue to sing the lullaby, which she believed he had forgotten. She informed a parent that his daughter still had the plush bear in her spirit, recalling it from the time he placed it in the casket. The room was filled with gasps and sobbing, but also with laughter and release, and the air became lighter with each connection. Then, almost at the same moment, Theresa sensed Matthew once more. "I know my son is here tonight," she remarked, pausing with tears in her eyes. "He is expressing his pride in me and his desire for me to continue helping and persevering. Ma, you've helped so many families. Let them help you too," he says. The crowd fell silent, with several people sobbing aloud. Theresa was more than just the Long Island medium in that moment. She represented all parents who had ever buried a part of themselves. She started to get better after that night. Grief never really goes away, but it did so in a way that gave her a second chance at life. In Matthew's honor, she established a nonprofit devoted to helping bereaved families. Every time she felt weak, she touched the little necklace bearing his initials, which she wore near her heart. She would still sense him, offering encouragement from the other side, even in her quietest moments. Looking back years later, Theresa came to the stunning realization that her gift had always been about bringing people closer to their loved ones. But her knowledge had grown as a result of losing Matthew. It was about love, the type of love that even death could not snuff out, not just messages or affirmations. Thus, Theresa Caputo carried on with her work in honor of her son, not as a vehicle for fame, but as a mother paying tribute to her son. In some way, every reading, embrace, and tears shared in her presence was an homage to Matthew, a reminder that love continues forever, even in the face of unfathomable tragedy. But the black SUV slowly drove up in front of Theresa Caputo's home office on a cool Long Island autumn afternoon. As if nature itself wished to ease the moment, the golden leaves slid languidly from the trees and settled on the driveway. Kelsey Grammer was sitting inside the car, his face composed but his eyes laden with years of memories that were both tragic and triumphant. Being a well-known actor with a voice that could fill a room and a career spanning decades, Kelsey had led a life that most people could only dream of. His private life, however, had been tainted by terrible losses: the murder of his beloved sister, the terrible accidents that had killed close family members, and the nagging pain of absence that never really went away, beyond the stage lights and the applause. Grief was something he had learned to live with, to bear like a friend. But he had a different reason for being here today. After getting out of the car and putting his coat straight, he made his way to Theresa's front door. The air was instantly made softer by Theresa's kind grin as soon as she opened it. Her words were comfortingly conveyed by her distinctive Long Island accent. "Hey, honey, Kelsey. Enter. Spirit has already started talking to me. They had been anticipating your arrival." Despite his courteous grin, Kelsey was filled with curiosity and skepticism. He was previously aware of Theresa's work as the Long Island medium, who is renowned for facilitating communication between individuals and their deceased loved ones. He had even discreetly wondered if such things were conceivable while watching her performance a few times. But loss forces people to look for answers, and he had a part of him that was receptive to the idea that his loved ones might still be around. Theresa's comfortable reading room was where they sat. On the side table, candles glowed softly, and the air was slightly scented with sage. Theresa took a deep breath and closed her eyes for a time before starting. "Kelsey," she said, "a young woman is the first spirit to come forward. She claims to be your sister. She claims that you were young when she departed and that you have never completely recovered from the abrupt and tragic way she passed away." Kelsey's breath caught in his chest as his eyes widened a little. When his sister Karen was cruelly murdered, she was just 18 years old. Even after decades had gone by, the agony was still intense and ingrained in his spirit. Theresa went on, her tone firm but gentle. "Tell my brother I never left him. She is telling me. I was there when he felt isolated and when he doubted his ability to continue. I was supporting him, whispering, and assisting him in discovering his strength." Tears clouded Kelsey's eyes. His normally powerful and authoritative voice trembled as he leaned forward. "She was really young. I often questioned whether she was aware of my affection for her. I was unable to say farewell." Theresa put her hand lightly next to his as she reached across the table. "Honey, she is aware. Don't carry that guilt anymore," she simply replied. "My brother's love is known to me. She wants you to remember how she lived and laughed, not how she left. I felt it then, and I still feel it now." With his heart hurting but oddly relieved, Kelsey swallowed hard. The reading didn't end there, either. Theresa tilted her head as though she heard someone whispering, and another vibe appeared to permeate the area. "A man is now coming forward, Kelsey. He claims to be your father figure. He tells me that he abruptly departed when you were young, and you have many unresolved questions about it." Slowly, Kelsey nodded. When Kelsey was a teenager, his father was shot and killed. Much of his life had been molded by the catastrophe. "I apologize for not being there to mentor you, son," he says. "However, I've been pleased with the man you've grown into." He is discussing how you transformed suffering into art and how your acting and voice held more soul as a result of your hardships. "Even when you doubted yourself, I never doubted you." At last, Kelsey's tears escaped and streamed down his cheeks. Right now, he was just a man, a brother, and a son who had lost too much too quickly. He wasn't the polished Hollywood celebrity. "Are you aware of this?" Theresa inquired softly. "Yes," Kelsey said in a crackly whisper. Every word. The room was silent for a while. Theresa gave him room to breathe and let his feelings run their course. Spirit's last message for you today is to stop doubting whether you deserve peace, she stated with a gentle grin. They tell me that you've carried a lot of burdens, including grief, remorse, and responsibility, but they now want you to find happiness. Knowing that they are always by your side, they want you to live freely. With his hand dabbing at his eyes, Kelsey reclined. He let out a long breath, as if a weight had been somewhat relieved. He got up and gave Theresa a firm hug as the session came to a conclusion. His voice was still full of passion as he said simply, "Thank you. I sensed them here, but I wasn't sure if I believed. I did, in fact." "That's all that matters, sweetheart," Theresa said with her characteristic warmth. "They're with you. Always." The world felt a bit less heavy and the air a little lighter as Kelsey made his way back to his car. He was aware that his sorrow would never fully go away, but he also knew in his heart that love never dies. His story still included his father, his sister, and the other people he had lost. Not in recollection, but in actuality. And Kelsey Grammer gave himself permission to be calm for the first time in a long time. But in Hicksville, Long Island, where Theresa Caputo was already well known, the cameras rolled once more. One revelation after another in Season 6 had left fans gasping, but Part 2, the second half of the season, would put Theresa and her clients to the test in ways no one could have foreseen. As the crew moved their gear inside Theresa's comfortable reading room in the late autumn, the leaves crunched underfoot. The table was adorned with pictures of loved ones, candles flickered, and there was that familiar, inexplicable charge in the air that always came when spirits were about. With her hair styled flawlessly as usual, Theresa sat down, but her heart was troubled. "Recently, Spirit has been really strong," she said to the producers. "I am aware that the readings for tonight will be poignant. Individuals are carrying a great deal of pain." Angela, a New Jersey mother who lost her teenage son in an unexpected vehicle accident, attended the first session. Holding a silver cross necklace between quivering fingers, Angela sat down and held her breath. Theresa listened with her eyes closed. Then she gave a little gasp. Theresa murmured, "He's here. He's standing right behind you." Angela's shoulders trembled as she broke down instantaneously. "Mom, I didn't suffer," he says. "I assure you that I experienced no pain. Stop holding yourself responsible for allowing me to go out that evening." Angela covered her mouth and cried out. "I should have stopped him, but I always advised him to drive carefully. I ought to have—" "No," Theresa said sharply, tears welling up in her eyes. He's giving a headshake. "It was my time, Mom," he says. "He's showing me the number 17. Was that his age? You didn't let me down." Angela nodded, her tears deepening. 17, yes." Aside from Angela's sobs, the room became quiet. Overwhelmed by the unadulterated sorrow seeping out, even the cameramen briefly lowered their gear. Angela's hands were in Theresa's grasp. "He wants you to be aware that he is still alive. He claims to have left pennies and dimes for you. Have you been able to locate them?" Angela let out a gasp. "Indeed. It was in the washing machine yesterday," Theresa said with a gentle grin and tears running down her cheeks. "That's him. He uses that to indicate that he is still there." Even after the reading was over, Angela's narrative continued to loom large. This sequence would later be regarded by viewers as one of the most poignant in the entire series. The season didn't slow down in the second half. In order to meet Daniel, a retired firefighter, Theresa traveled across Long Island. Only months earlier, his brother had died of cancer. Theresa put her hand to her chest as soon as Daniel took a seat. "Oh my God. He's showing me ladders, fire trucks, and everything else. He is really pleased with you." Daniel's hard exterior broke down, and he started crying. "We were co-workers at the same fire station. It broke me to lose him." With a shaky voice, Theresa nodded. "He claims that you saved his life. He claims to be aware that you held his hand while he was in the hospital and that you promised to look after his family." Daniel's mouth trembled. "Yes, I did. According to Theresa. And he heard you." "You kept your word," he says. "He is displaying a young girl to me. Is she your niece?" Daniel grinned despite his tears. Yes, she is now 7 years old. She sees him in her dreams, he claims. He's expressing his gratitude for treating her like a second father. He's also demonstrating a fire bell to me. Have you ever heard one ring while you were by yourself? Daniel blinked. Yes, at the station last week. Nobody else heard it. Theresa muttered. That was him. He's letting you know he's still on call with you and keeping an eye on the house. When the show aired, millions of people were moved by the unadulterated masculinity of a firefighter who was reduced to tears. Later, fans commented on social media that it demonstrated that sadness knows no bounds, regardless of how resilient one may seem. However, the season was about more than just loss. It was also about reconciliation, forgiveness, and healing. Theresa's encounter with Carla, a woman who had been separated from her late mother for years before to her death, was among the most unexpected. Carla entered defensively, even doubtfully. She acknowledged, I'm not even sure if this is real. Unfazed, Theresa grinned. That's all right. Spirit believes in you, so it doesn't matter if you believe in me. Theresa grasped her tummy in a matter of seconds. Your mother is taking the lead. She claims to have been stubborn, and boy, did she. She claims to be aware that you inherited that. Carla burst into tears as she laughed. That is accurate. Did she sew? She's showing me sewing needles. Carla's mouth fell open. Yes, she made all of my dresses when I was a child. She apologizes for not telling you how proud she was. She claims she allowed her pride to interfere. She always loved you, though, and she needs you to know that. Carla's tears reverberated across the silent room as she covered her face. The weight of unresolved rage started to ease for the first time in years. Closure doesn't mean the pain disappears, Theresa subsequently said in her confessional. It simply means that love has the final say. Dozens of families assembled in a single, spacious auditorium for a collective reading that marked the conclusion of the season finale. Theresa could feel the electric charge, the voices overlapping in her thoughts, and the ghosts everywhere. Stable yet overwhelmed, she stood in the middle. A young child who died in a drowning tragedy is coming forward. Whose property is he? A pair, already crying, held up their hands. A woman passed away from breast cancer. She tells me that she is the family's glue. Whose mother is this? Another group sobbed and held on to one another. More spirits appeared, more healing was delivered, and more tears were poured everywhere Theresa looked. The conclusion was more than just a single episode. It was a sea of sorrow turned into hope. Theresa's voiceover concluded the season as the credits rolled. I am reminded why Spirit does this with each reading. Although life is brief, love endures forever. Your loved ones are with you no matter how much agony you bear. And sometimes, simply being aware of it can make all the difference. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Mina, and I hope you're having a great day. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the video.